talking here, and welcome back to yet another movie review. And today I'm going to be talking about the 2018 family comedy buddy cop film, and this is, of course, Show Dogs. So, Show Dogs, this was directed by Gosnell, director of Home Alone 3, Never Been Kissed, Big Mama's House, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed, Yours, Mine, and Ours, Beverly Hills Chihuahua, The Smurfs, and The Smurfs 2. So this is his latest film as a director. And so this time around, for this newest family film he's made, basically centers on this dog, this Rottweiler dog known as Max, who's voiced by Ludacris. And he has an FBI human partner named Frank, played by Arnett, who basically, they're both police detectives, and they're trying to solve a kidnapping case which involved a baby panda, because the baby panda has been stolen by a bunch of animal smugglers, and they want to use it to run in this competition in Las Vegas, which involves show dogs. And so basically, we see Frank and Max going undercover to pretend to be contestants for this show dogs competition that's taking place in Las Vegas, and hopefully they can save the baby panda and hopefully return home to its mother. So that's pretty much the story of Show Dogs. Now, for me, going into Show Dogs, I had no anticipation for this film. I had no interest in what this movie was like, because to me, it just feels like one of those old pre-packaged 2000 movies we've already had before, with these kind of like cheap, low budget, like family movies we used to get involving like talking animals, which some of them weren't that great, but there are a few that I do kind of enjoy, which are my biggest guilty pleasures, which mostly, like, of course, the two live action Scooby-Doo movies from 2002 and 2004, which the director of this movie directed those movies, and I personally enjoyed those movies. I think they are my biggest guilty pleasures ever, because I grew up watching those movies when I was a kid, and they never like made me change my opinion on them. I know there's a few of my friends who don't really like the movie, well, there's a few that do really enjoy it along with me, but for the other ones we had before, like we've had like the Eddie Murphy, Dr. Dolittle films. We've had like Beverly Hills Chihuahua movies, which I've only seen the first, but I've not seen the sequels. And then there's other like talking animal films we've had before, which, like I said, aren't that great. And so yeah, when I heard this was coming out of 2018, when I saw the advertisement for this movie, I was like, this is gonna be garbage. And when the reviews dropped by, everyone said what I knew was true. This movie was just garbage. This movie I thought was just awful. It was just bad. It's just a pretty bad family film. It's probably one of the worst ones I've ever seen of the 2010s decade. And even the director's worst since the Smurfs movies, and other ones that he didn't do well on. But there are a few of his films I kind of enjoy, although critics or audiences didn't appreciate, like the first Big Mama's House movie. I enjoyed the first Big Mama's House, and I again enjoyed the first two live action Scooby-Doo movies. And he made like as well as Never Been Kissed, which that movie I thought was pretty decent, although it wasn't great. And there's a few other ones I didn't like, which were like Home Alone 3, which that one was okay, even though that one isn't as good as the first two Home Alone movies. He's made as well like Yours, Mine, and Ours, which that one wasn't that great. It's sort of like Cheaper by the Dozen, but involving a lot of kids, which I preferred that movie and then that one. And then he made Beverly Hills Chihuahua, which that wasn't that good as well. And then again, he made the two live action Smurfs movies. I'd say it's one of the worst like movie based on cartoons I've seen, next to like Alvin and the Chipmunks or Yogi Bear or anything like that. But this one I'd say is probably his worst, because this movie has so many things that we've already seen 1,000 times for these kind of kids movies we usually get now. We have had before. Like, there are some pop culture references, jokes that are cliche we see 1,000 times. There's poop jokes, there's fart jokes, and there's some like they try to do like popular jokes we get like people do nowadays, like social media and all that. There's a dab joke, which that was just cringe, and yeah, and then there's just nothing really that made me laugh whatsoever, because I was just getting bored while I was watching it, because again the humor was just very cliched and it's just absolutely awful. The acting, however, all the acting in the movie, I thought everyone was really bad. Everyone were pretty bad in the movie. Will Arnett, he was wasted in this movie as this FBI agent, this human FBI agent, Frank, which pretty much throughout the film, he just doesn't really like Max, of course, and then they try to get along with each other, and he just pretty much shouts, and he just kind of like loses his temper a few times in the film, but I just didn't really care for him as well. And Ludacris, who voices Max in the film, the dog, this is a police dog, I just didn't like him in the movie, and I just didn't really care for that chemistry, the friendship between Frank and Max, the dog, the police dog. It wasn't really interesting. I just didn't really care for their friendship. It just because again, there was nothing really that made me brought any kind of sympathy for any of these characters, because most of the characters they just didn't seem really that interesting. And for other talents you've got in the film, you got Natasha, Lyonne, and you've got, for voice actors who voices the other dogs, you've got like Shaquille and Neal, Stanley, Tucci, Gabriel, Iglesias, and Jordin Sparks, and a lot of other voice actors. I felt everyone in this movie were completely wasted, and they weren't even that good for these kind of characters. And again, and for whatever they say in the film, it's just kind of cringe and just kind of like blech kind of stuff when you're like, ugh. It almost had me like that, but I was just like, oh god. I was just like that when I saw the stuff that just showed up on screen that just did not make me laugh whatsoever. And even for the storytelling, the story did not really feel that interesting or any or memorable at all. It was extremely forgettable about an FBI agent with a talking police dog trying to solve a case involving a baby pen and save it from a bunch of animal smugglers. That just did not really seem that interesting whatsoever, and did not really. It just didn't really feel that. It just didn't feel any. Like I said, it just did not feel interesting whatsoever. And for when we do see them at the show dogs at the competition, I was just getting incredibly. I just got extremely bored that I just wanted to turn it off. And even after all of this, after all the reviews dropped by, this movie was publicized on the internet because of when this came out early in the US, and then it came out in the UK a few weeks after that. That there was one scene in the movie that brought up a bit of controversy, which it got pulled from theaters and it got pulled from cinemas, and then they had to like re-edit, and they had to re-edit everything so they won't have to show it ever again. But the scenes are where we see that Frank has to teach Max to not flinch when one of the show dogs inspectors or judges inspect Max's private parts, and that on screen, they showed that a few times in the movie. They do it 2 times, and they do it more than 1 times in the film, which it just seemed. I was like, what the hell was going on? It was just the biggest WTF moment. Like I just couldn't believe, like, why would they show that in a kids movie, since this movie is supposed to be for kids, since there is a bunch of talking animals. But yeah, that got controversy because it shows a pretty dangerous message, which involves grooming, which it's really distressing and ugly, and I just can't believe, like, why would they show that in this movie? Because some kids movies that try to do anything like that is just wrong. I just don't know why. They should, like, just if they do anything like that again, they just have to completely re-edit it all over again, and then they just have to, like, burn, like, I don't know, like, just burn whatever they had, and then just get rid of it and never show it to the kids ever again, because again, it's just wrong. And that's what the film should have done before, because at first it just made parents, like, complained, and then kids, I don't know what the kids were like, but I've heard what parents said about it, because parents felt uncomfortable with it, and then they had to bring the message out, and like, they just had to say it on the internet, like on the news, and then that's why we got the new edited version. And I'd say for that kind of thing they did in the movie, it's more cringe than it's really awful, and it's way awful than the awful cliched humor we have in this film, which again involve like poop or fart jokes. But yeah, Show Dogs, this movie was just absolutely garbage from beginning to end. There was nothing really interesting whatsoever. and this is probably even Roger Gosnell's worst film I've ever seen from this guy. Although there are a few that I kind of enjoy as guilty pleasures, like Big Mama's House and the first two live-action Scooby-Doo movies, which I enjoy those ones. Although there are some of his other ones that not really people really like that much, like I said, the two live-action Smurfs movies or anything at all. But yeah, if you have but if you're a fan of movies involving like talking animals, I don't know what to say, because I don't know what I would say if I would recommend anything a movie that's bad, because I just have no idea what to say. But or if you've heard about the director Roger Gosnell and you've seen all his films, if you want to see this again, I just don't know what to say. So for my rating, I'm gonna give Show Dogs 0 out of 5 stars. Yep, 0 out of 5 stars for being just a worst movie I've ever seen, and one of the most obvious bland like kids movies I've ever seen. That's just, it feels like those kind of films we've had before are just dead now, and they're just like, no, we want to bring it back. It just feels like that for these kind of kids movies to get nowadays. We've had that, we started getting like these kind of stuff in the 2010s. We had it in 2018 with this movie. Then in 2019 we had like Playing with Fire and all that, and the kids movies we had back in the 2010s wasn't even that good. And they just, to me, they just feel like they're from like the 2000s, like the early 2000s, either 2003 or something. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching for my review of Show Dogs, and let me know what you think of if you've seen Show Dogs. I'm curious to know what you guys really think of this movie. Did you had a good time with it, or did you hate this movie so much? So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for my next review. And this has been Foggin signing off.